What is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be going over my top 5 late round targets who I believe could be seeing a lot more touches on a per game basis than most people are thinking about. But before we could get on into things, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure that you do leave a like on today's video. It would help us out a ton. And if you would like to follow me on Twitter, please do so at Notorious FNTSY. So without further ado, let's get into my top 5 late round targets who I think not too many people are looking at, who I believe could be seeing a decent amount of touches on a per game basis. So we will begin first with Jarvis Landry, wide receiver of the New Orleans Saints, current underdog ADP, wide receiver number 60 off the board, pick 126.7. In 2021, in 12 games for the Cleveland Browns, Jarvis Landry finished as the wide receiver number 56.5 PPR and the wide receiver number 42 in half PPR points per game. He had 85 targets, 7.1 per game, ranking 42nd at wide receiver, 52 receptions, 4.3 per game, ranking 46th at wide receiver, 570 receiving yards, 47.5 per game, ranking 54th at wide receiver, and 4 total touchdowns, 48th at the wide receiver position. So Jarvis Landry is a couple of years out from a really solid fantasy football season, so he hasn't been all that amazing as of recently. His real prime in terms of fantasy football was in Miami, where this dude was seeing so many fucking targets every single game that he was just dominating for the Dolphins. But then he went to the Browns, he was all right, and now he has found a home in New Orleans. Now, the New Orleans Saints do have other wide receivers. It's not like Jarvis Landry is going to be instantly inserted into this offense and be the number 1 target on the team. They have Michael Thomas, who, if plays a full season, could legitimately be a top 5 wide receiver in all of fantasy football with the amount of target share that he commands in the offense. They also draft Chris Olave. So it's not like Jarvis Landry is the only guy there. But with how late Jarvis Landry is going, again, ADP wide receiver number 60 off the board, pick 126.7, would you be surprised if Jarvis Landry was the number 2 target on this team? And again, he's being drafted as the number 3 guy on this team. Michael Thomas goes way ahead of him, and then Chris Olave, and then Jarvis Landry. So if Jarvis Landry was able to outscore Chris Olave or Michael Thomas, would you be surprised at all? Because I would not be. We all know full well how dicey Michael Thomas could be. So with an offense I think is going to be a little bit more pass heavy this year, with an offense with famous Jameis Winston hopefully under center for the whole season, we don't have to deal with Ian Book or Taysom Hill at the starting quarterback position, I should say. If it's Jameis Winston, then really Jarvis Landry could potentially be very slept on and be seeing way more targets than people are projecting for. Now, is there an opportunity? Is there a chance that the season finishes and Jarvis Landry is the clear number 3 weapon behind Chris Olave, behind Michael Thomas? Definitely. But when you are in the range of pick 126.7, we're in the 10th plus round, I am willing to take that shot on Jarvis Landry, and maybe, just maybe, he does elevate himself to be the number 2 target inside of this offense. The next player that I want to be talking about is going to be Dameon Pierce, running back of the Houston Texans, current ADP on Underdog, running back number 41 off of the board, pick 130. So Dameon Pierce gets drafted to the Texans. He's not like this crazy, highly drafted running back, but he gets drafted into a scenario where he could easily be the number 1 running back on this team, not by week 3, not by week 5, by week fucking 1. He could win this job easily with the other running backs on the depth chart. They have Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead, Dameon Pierce, and Dare Ogunbowale. Now, I understand Marlon Mack in the past was really good, but he suffered from a very severe injury. Is that still the same Marlon Mack that we saw look really good in Indianapolis a couple of years ago? Maybe not. Then there's Rex Burkhead, and we've seen Rex Burkhead have some good games, but Rex Burkhead is just a role player. Like 5 guys on the team get hurt, and then you see Rex Burkhead come in, he has a great game, and then you never hear of him again. So Rex Burkhead doesn't scare me, Marlon Mack doesn't scare me, and Dare Ogunbowale doesn't fucking scare me in the slightest. So Dameon Pierce, as a rookie in week 1 of the season, could be the starter of the team. He could be, and I understand. But Nick, he's a rookie on the Houston Texans. He's on a bad team. Why do you want a running back on a bad team? The thing is, just because it is a running back on a bad team does not mean that they won't be given an opportunity to touch the ball. Just think a couple of years ago when James Robinson had that insane season, not last year, the year prior in 2020. The Jacksonville Jaguars were a complete and utter unmitigated disaster every single game. They were a dumpster fire. They were terrible. And still, James Robinson was dominating for your fantasy football team. He elevated you to win your fantasy football championship. So I'm not saying Dameon Pierce is James Robinson. Not saying that. What I'm telling you is that even though the Houston Texans on paper are a shitty team, they might be the worst team in all the NFL, even though they have Davis Mills, blah, blah, blah. Dameon Pierce can still be productive, seeing a bunch of touches every single game for the Houston Texans. At 23 years old, playing at Florida, he played in 13 games last season, having 100 rushing attempts for 574 rushing yards. He had 19 receptions for 216 receiving yards, and he had 16 total touchdowns. Dameon Pierce is not this crazy workhorse running back, right? He's not going to be seeing all the touches on the team, but could he be the leader in a committee in Houston, and could he be very viable week in and week out? And coming off the board at pick 130, running back 41, 100%. I think Dameon Pierce is still being slept on. He should probably be ranked closer to 32 compared to 42. Just on a standpoint that he's just going to be touching the ball. If you believe in Marlon Mack, then you can say, push away Dameon Pierce. I'll rather draft Marlon Mack a couple of rounds later, and that's okay with me as well. Maybe you believe it's going to be Marlon Mack, but I think one of these guys on this Texans offense at the running back position is going to potentially be a league winner. A league winner who dominates the team in terms of touches. Not necessarily like some crazy touches like Christian McCaffrey or Jonathan Taylor or something, but maybe a 60-40 split, 65-35 split in their favor, and they win you your championship. That wouldn't surprise me at all. So Dameon Pierce right now at running back 41, I love that ADP. Before we move on into my next three players that I love in the late rounds, I would like to give you guys a quick word from our friends and our sponsor of today's video, and that is going to be Underdog Fantasy. Underdog Fantasy is the single best place to play fantasy football this summer. The Best Ball 3 Mania tournament has $10 million in total prize money. You just draft your team, and that's it. There's no waivers, no trades, no in-season management. Now, you can watch your team all season long, root for the team, or you can draft the team, forget about it, come back in January at the end of the season, and maybe you won $2 million, which is the first place prize for the Best Ball Mania 3 tournament. My favorite thing about fantasy football is drafting the team. And now, that's all you got to do. You just draft it. You don't have to pick anyone up. You don't have to worry about calling Jim from accounting, trying to make a trade. You don't have to worry about the waivers. None of that. Underdog is automatically going to put your best players, your highest scores in your lineup every single week. So you don't even have to edit your lineup. They automatically do it for you. And you might be thinking, Nick, it's not August. Why do I want to be drafting in June? Well, last year's Best Ball Mania champion drafted their team in June. So there's no need to wait. You can draft your team right now. Underdog will double your first deposit up to $100 when you sign up using promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO. That's good for 4 entries into the Best Ball Mania 3 tournament. Head on over to UnderdogFantasy.com or in the App Store, or just click on the link in the video description down below and sign up using promo code Awesemo today. Back on into the video, my third player that I think people are sleeping on that could be seeing a bunch of touches is Jalen Tolbert, wide receiver of the Dallas Cowboys. ADP wide receiver 66 off the board right now, pick 143.6. Right now, this video is being recorded in June. It's not August, right? We don't necessarily have the strongest timetable of when Michael Gallup is going to return. But if Michael Gallup does miss some time, they just drafted Jalen Tolbert. I understand they're bringing James Washington, but Jalen Tolbert could be the number 2 guy on a high-tempo offense with Dak Prescott, who should be fully healthy this year, on a Dallas Cowboys team that is going to be scoring a shit ton of points every single game. And you could be getting the wide receiver number 2 in that offense at pick 143.6. Now, is it a lock that Gallup misses week 1? No. Could Gallup roll on in there, play week 1, have an excellent season? 100%. But I'm just thinking, why not just wait a little bit further down the draft and draft Jalen Tolbert at a significant discount to Michael Gallup? Just wait on Tolbert, draft Tolbert, and now you can play Tolbert potentially as, again, the number 2 wide receiver in the Dallas Cowboys offense. It just makes perfect sense. It just does. They drafted him for a reason. They are going to be using him. And at pick 143, that's where you're closing your eyes and just throwing shit at the screen, hoping that it lands. So why not take the shot on a guy on one of the best offenses in the NFL that was just drafted to the team with a wide receiver 2 spot that is really up in the air? That's why I like Jalen Tolbert so much. I understand he was a 3rd round pick, right? He's not a 1st, 2nd round pick, but he really could be the number 2 receiver behind CeeDee Lamb. At age 23 in 12 games at South Alabama, he had 82 receptions on 136 targets for 1,474 yards and 8 touchdowns. I understand the caliber of players that he was going up against at South Alabama. It's not like he was at Alabama, right? It's not like he was in the SEC, but he still put up solid numbers on tape. He looked pretty solid, and he is being inserted into such a great situation that I think it is a no-brainer to draft Jalen Tolbert where he's going right now. Next up, we'll move to another rookie running back just like Dameon Pierce and another rookie just like Jalen Tolbert. We got Tyrion Davis-Price, running back of the San Francisco 49ers, ADP running back 49 off the board, pick 161.5. Now, on paper, in the film room, I'll be honest, Tyrion Davis-Price isn't super impressive. At age 21 at LSU, playing in 12 games, he rushed 211 times for 1,004 yards, 6 touchdowns. He also had 10 receptions on 15 targets for 64 yards. So nothing super impressive. You can go ahead, turn on the fucking film, and it's not going to make your eyes ejaculate, right? You're not going to be just going to sleep at night just dreaming of what Tyrion Davis-Price can do for your fantasy football team. But, it's San Francisco. And as you guys know, anything can happen in San Francisco and the running back room. Elijah Mitchell was not supposed to be the guy last year. Everyone did not suspect that. They're thinking Trey Sermon. They're thinking Raheem Mostert. And then guess what we see? We see Elijah Mitchell. So again, while I think Elijah Mitchell is by far and away the most talented running back on the San Francisco 49ers roster, and it is not even close, he is on an upper echelon level compared to these other guys. Would it surprise me, and would it surprise you guys in the audience, if Tyrion Davis-Price by week 5 was the starter? No. Kyle Shanahan loves this approach that I like to call the hot hand approach. In this hot hand scenario, if the number 1 running back fucks up just a little bit, and they let the second guy go, they let Tyrion Davis-Price go in this scenario, he plays well, now he's the starter. Now he's the guy taking reps. Now again, am I 100% sure that this is going to happen? No, I'm not sure. I don't even think this will happen. But based upon how the San Francisco 49ers have been with Kyle Shanahan, it would not surprise me. It wouldn't shock me. So for that reason alone, I think it's fine to take that upside shot on Tyrion Davis-Price, but you're going to have to hold him. Because if you cut him by like week 5, he might be the starter in week 9, and he's going to be a popular waiver wire pickup when inevitably when Kyle Shanahan just benches Elijah Mitchell for no fucking reason. My final player to talk about in today's video is going to be Gus Edwards, running back of the Baltimore Ravens, ADP running back 53 off the board right now, pick 174.4. Gus Edwards did end up getting hurt prior to the 2021 NFL season, just like basically every other running back on the Baltimore Ravens. It was a revolving door of running backs last year. J.K. Dobbins get hurt, then Gus Edwards gets hurt. Things were not too dandy for the Baltimore Ravens. They dealt with a lot of injuries. Lamar got hurt. Things weren't the greatest, right, for the Baltimore Ravens. 2020, we go back to look at his stats. 16 games, he's the running back 35.5 PPR, running back 47.5 PPR points per game, tied with Carlos Hyde. 144 carries, 9.0 per game, 28th at running back. 723 rushing yards, 45.2 per game, 19th at running back. 13 targets, 9 receptions, 129 receiving yards, and 6 total touchdowns, 25th at running back. So obviously, J.K. Dobbins is the guy on this team. The ADP tells us so. The depth chart tells us so, or tells us so, right? That's how you fucking say it. Tells us so. But the Ravens don't really seem to be that pot committed to J.K. Dobbins, where we're not going to see where we are definitely going to be seeing games where Gus Edwards breaks out. And I think there's a good reason to believe that Edwards could be seeing 8-9 targets per game. Or 8-9, not targets, I say 8 to 9 touches per game. And with basically an undrafted pick at pick 174.4, why wouldn't you draft him? Why wouldn't you take the shot that maybe he does see a little bit more work? Maybe J.K. Dobbins is being hyped up while he's this great player. He's deserving of the hype, maybe Harbaugh doesn't see it the same way. Maybe, just maybe, Dobbins isn't this crazy workhorse back and Edwards breaks in there. Because Edwards is good enough to do that. In best ball, I'm heavily targeting Gus Edwards because I don't have to determine which week I start him. But in terms of redraft, we probably are going to need an injury potentially for Gus Edwards. But in a deeper league, I think week in, week out, you can start Gus Edwards. You don't have to be expecting, you're not going to be expecting 12, 15 points, but he can get you 7, 8 points every single week. Wouldn't surprise me. So I think Gus Edwards is definitely a guy that I'm going to be targeting heavily in the late rounds of my fantasy football drafts. Let me know down below in the comment section if you guys thought of any players that I did not discuss in today's video. Again, these players were all going from rounds 10 plus based upon current Underdog ADP. I love you guys all so much. Hope you guys have a great rest of your guys' day. Make sure you check out Underdog Fantasy promo code Awesemo for a first match deposit bonus of up to $100. I hope you guys all have a great rest of your guys' day. And as always, guys, good boy.